Brought to you by Prescient Investment Management. Informed by science, guided by insight. Prescient Investment Management is an authorized FSP.
Hi Warren, hope you're doing well. My question today is about whether it's best to invest in an ETF that tracks the S&P 500 or the MSCI World. I've heard some people say that the S&P 500 is a very good ETF to have, but then at the same time, the MSCI World is very diverse and also includes a lot of the companies that are in the S&P 500. So yeah, would it be better to invest in one of them, or would investing in both of them have any merit? Thank you so much.
That's a brilliant question that I think a lot of people are facing. You know, we always read about the world stock markets, and then most specifically, I think the news covers the American stock market a lot. And that makes sense for me because a lot of the world's biggest companies are listed in America, and they sell a lot of the products that we actually use all the time. So, you know, anything from our laptops to our phones to, you know, our games and a lot of the fashion items and the like, all of those things generally are from companies made in America for most of us. But my problem when you're looking at an S&P 500 ETF versus a world ETF is I think when you're investing, one of the keys to a long-term successful investment career is diversification. And the problem with investing in the S&P 500 is you don't get that benefit of diversification as much as you would if you invested in the world markets. And while the American economy is the biggest and some of their companies certainly represent the biggest engines of growth, that doesn't mean that that those are the only ones in the world that will give you capital growth over long periods of time. So for me, I prefer to invest in a very diversified world index rather than a very specific American index. It's important to understand there as well that, you know, when you invest in the world index, you are getting about 50 to 60% of your exposure is to the American markets anyway. So I would caution against just the S&P 500. I would do something, either something called the All-Country World Index or a Total World Index. And the reason for that recommendation is that also includes emerging markets as part of your global exposure. And I think, we need to be in emerging markets as well when we make these long-term investment decisions.
Hello, Honest Money. I have a scenario that I would love to hear Warren's thoughts on. So I have a paid-off house, which I'm looking at selling because the house no longer suits our needs, and I'd like to move to a different suburb. So basically, once I've sold the house, my plan is to rent and to invest the money from the sale, and then also to contribute monthly into an investment. And I have a 7-year plan that I'd like to double the R1,000,000 that I'm going to invest, and then hopefully use that money to purchase a home. Now, when I tell people that idea that I have, they often say to me, but for the next 5 to 7 years, I'll be renting and paying somebody else's bond. And that is a waste of money when I have such a good deposit to put down. But I just feel that if I had to take the money that I have currently and buy a home, I'd have to take a bond to top up to get the type of home that I want, which I would end up paying a bond for 20 years. And what I'd really like to have is financial freedom and not be having any debt and have like a fully paid up house in the next 10 years. So I would love to know what you think of my plan, and then what you think of the advice other people have given me, and sort of which route you would say I follow. Thank you so much.
Gee, I really love this question. If you're in a position where you've had the financial discipline to buy a house, to get to the point where you've managed to pay off the bond, and now you're looking to upgrade your house over the next few years, or even next decade or so, you're in a really wonderful position of being able to make smart choices from a position of strength, and so to your point around your question. do you sell your house that you've got now, use the money as a big deposit on a new home soon, and then get a mortgage for the balance and pay off that mortgage or that home loan, for the next few years until the point when it's paid off, and then you're debt free again? The alternative is, do you, as you were saying, do you take the money that you've taken from the sale of this house, you invest it for a period of 7 years, keep adding to that money every month while you're saving, and then use that money from the house plus the growth plus the extra money that you've put in, and get to the point where you can then afford to buy your kind of dream home with cash. And I think it's important to start by saying, there isn't going to be one answer that suits everybody. So asking for opinions from your friends and other people who don't live your life and don't have your priorities, it's important to just give a context to their view and their opinion. They don't have your priorities. And so, I think, understanding that when you invest money on day one, let's say you take R1 million and you invest it, if you invest it in the stock market, the hope is that over the next 5 or 10 years that it will double in value over, let's say, be more realistic, 7 to 10 year period. And understanding also that, when you're investing, that you're using compound growth in your favor. In other words, whatever money gets added to the initial investment that you've put in, it's growing again, not against you, but in your favor. Whereas if you borrow money, you go and borrow R1 million from the bank, on day one, you have compound interest growing against you, because now, at the end of the first month, the bank says, okay, you owed us R1 million at the start. That's now gone up to, R1,010,000 or whatever the number will be. And then it's up to you as their clients to then try and pay down that interest that you owe them and try and pay off a little bit of capital. But for as long as you've got that bond, you've got compound interest growing against you. And that for me is really tricky. I don't like having banks having growth at my expense. I want to be an investor where I have compound growth working for me. So if you're in the same position, then it's not such a crazy idea to say, well, hang on, I've got a paid up house. I'm going to take the proceeds. I am going to pay rent, and I'm going to invest that money wisely and carefully, and then add to it every month. And there will be a day when, whether it's in 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, where that growth will actually, work for you and will actually be in a position where you can sell out that investment and buy a home cash. I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. There are lots of tricks with investing and things just to be careful of, and the one is, just make sure that, you stay committed to your goal of saving every month, and adding to that investment that you've been building up. You can't just take your foot off the accelerator of saving, but certainly then you are using compound growth in your favor. There will be other people who are not financially disciplined, who will, if they don't have a bond every month, it'll become easy for them just to spend the money, and they should be saving every month, but they'll find good reasons why they need to spend the money on whatever it is, stuff that's not going to grow. So I think I like your strategy. It certainly wouldn't work for every single kind of personality with money. There are people that are not disciplined, but would commit to a bond, and maybe those are the people that should sell the current house, take the money, put it into a new house with a bond, and then stick to the discipline of paying off the bond. But if you are disciplined and you know how to save and how to invest over long periods of time, I really don't think it's a bad idea at all. And I wish you all the best.
Brought to you by Prescient Investment Management. Informed by science, guided by insight. Prescient Investment Management is an authorized FSP.